I may never have sold real estate, but I feel like an honorary member because that headshot there is like 10 years old. We can pull the deck up. You heard Leo and Glenn talk about this market, how this market is shifting and how this market creates opportunity for agents who are willing to invest their time, their energy, and certainly put behind great strategies to grow their real estate business. Today I'm here to share with you the lessons that I've learned helping agents, top teams across the country grow the real estate business. So this is going to be a very tactical session. I'm going to give you 20 plus ideas that you can use today, this week, this month to get your next customer. But before we get into any of that, I think it is important to sort of assess how the market impacts our overall marketing strategy. Now, during the unicorn years of real estate, we added 86,477 realtors. Right? Think about that. That actually translates into one realtor every 6 minutes. Think about that for a second. Now, despite what you might think, this may have not been a problem if the transaction volume, like Leo was talking about earlier, continued to rise. If we went from 6 million to 6.5 million to 6.9 million or above. Where this became a problem was when? In Q4 of 2022, when the transaction volume really began to slow down. Now, as the team has already mentioned, we're entering into a world where most economists, most experts, by the way, all the experts that we're listening to now are the same ones that didn't predict the world that we're in, so just keep that in the back of your mind. They're all estimating that we're going to be at 4.5 million, maybe 4.3 million, maybe really bearish 4.1 million transactions. Now, here's the problem. How many realtors did we have the last time we had 4.1 million transactions? Because we got 1.6 million right now, give or take. How many do we have? Guesses? 999,000. Now this is 2012. You're right, like 850, kind of a little bit earlier. 999,000. That means we have 60% more realtors, right now with the same number of transactions. So let that soak in for a second. So when I call it the real estate Hunger Games, what I'm really saying is the pie has gotten a lot smaller and competition is incredibly fierce. Now we're already seeing how this competition is impacting the market. We're seeing how it's affecting agents. Just this past year, we've seen 60,000 realtors leave the industry. We've seen the iBuying phenomenon. Remember we used to all be afraid of iBuying? The iBuying phenomenon now is basically open doors buying a fraction of the houses they were buying just 24 months ago. Zillow has effectively exited the entire business. Redfin has shuttered their business. So we're in this world where the competition is getting a lot tighter, and real estate agents in many ways are the good ones. And I have an unpopular opinion about this, but I believe there's never been a better time to be a great real estate agent. You with me on this? Like, there's never been a better time to be a great real estate agent because greatness blended in with average over the last 2 years. Anybody and everybody could have sold a house. In fact, if you look at the data behind this, I don't have a slide on this, but it's really I think, fascinating. If you look at the trajectory of the percentage of consumers who have used a real estate agent over the last 2 decades, it actually steadily climbed from 2000 to 2018. It went from 82% to 86%, and then it peaked at around 90%. It was in 2018 where that number dropped to 86%. We lost 4% market share. Why? iBuying, right? Consumers said, I can just sell my house online and get the same price a real estate agent could get it put in the market. Why wouldn't I just go ahead and just do that? Even though the fees were just as much. So they weren't even competing on price, they were competing on speed and convenience. But that world no longer exists. So what we're here to talk about today is this reality that it's going to become more expensive, it's going to be harder, it's going to take longer to acquire your next customer. But if you focus, and I mean really focus and obsess over customer acquisition, you can thrive in this market. I mean, you can absolutely thrive. So I was on tour recently. I had an opportunity to meet with hundreds of the top teams this past year. I was in Scottsdale, I was in Orange County, I was in Austin, I was in Cabo, right? Now I'm in Northern Virginia. But I had the opportunity to interview the best agents in the world and I would say, tell me your secret sauce. What are you doing to grow your business? And what they all told me was the number one thing they focus on is listings. Not buyers, listings. And they are listing obsessed. Listings is the centerpiece of a great real estate business. A buyer is a paycheck. A listing is an asset, if you're smart. If you focus on listings like Glenn was talking about earlier, you can start to build up market share. So regardless of what happens with the downward pressure in the market, if you're building up listings, you could acquire more market share and you could ride that wave as the market comes back. Listings are basically guaranteed income in this industry. I mean, if you get that listing agreement signed, are you closing that deal? 8 out of 10 times, right? I'm being conservative. It's probably, for most of you, it's probably 9 out of 10 times. If you get a buyer appointment or a buyer agency agreement signed, are you closing that at 90%? Of course not. Listings, the speed in which we can move product when it's a listing is much faster. In this market, how long does it take you to sell a house? Right? The market's so great if you're a listing agent, right? You can still move product very quickly, so you can manage more inventory. You can manage more clients. Managing 10 buyers and managing 10 listings, it's not even remotely close in terms of the effort, the energy that's required to do that. And of course, the last one is listings create a compound effect. If you have a listing, you can turn that listing with the right strategies, you can turn that listing into more listings. So I interviewed all these agents and said, what is your number one strategy to get listings? And they broke this down for me. So there's a couple categories here, and I would definitely take notes of this. First, SOI. Second, how they market the listing appointments. Third, I'm calling it farming 2.0. Fourth is circle prospecting, search and social advertising, email marketing, and finally listing promotions. What's the number one source? If you were to interview the top 100 agents, what's the number one source they would say? SOI. How have we been doing the last 2 years loving on our database? Like, do they feel neglected right now? Now, they're probably hearing from us a lot more these last few months, these last few quarters, but chances are they have not heard from us, many of us, for the last couple of years. So what I want to share with you today, and we're going to kick things off, I got 5 strategies for you. Where I want to kick things off is I want to share with you a few strategies that you can use to stay in touch with your SOI, things that you can do to actually engage in a meaningful conversation, and hopefully that can lead to an appointment, that can lead to a listing. You guys with me on this? Okay. Number 1, this is the equity update. So my guy Ken Pozak, you guys should write his name down. It's Ken Pozak, Pozek. He's out of Orlando, Florida. Does anyone here know Ken? Yeah. And what's Ken famous for? YouTube. I mean, this dude's got an epic YouTube channel. He's going to do about $250 million in production this year on the back of his YouTube channel. But in addition to his YouTube channel, he still does the blocking and tackling that really smart teams do. So what you're looking at right now is Ken did a CMA challenge, a CMA a day. And so what he did is he had his agents send out 30 CMAs. They booked 12 appointments. Of that, they took on 5 listings and they double-ended one of them. So 6 transactions from 1 week's worth of work. And by the way, this was not a request. Glenn didn't say to me, hey, Jimmy, can I get a CMA for my property? This is me reaching out and saying, hey, here's a CMA for you. The actual script that he uses, he says, hey, Leo, I just wanted to give you a quick equity update for you. It looks like homes like yours are selling between $625 and $675, depending on finishing and amenities. I'm not sure if you had any thoughts of selling this year, but even if you don't, I want to know where you're at. That's it. That's the script. Can you do one of these per day? Right? And I think when we look at our database, we may have 100 people in our database. If we're doing one of these a day, we can cycle through every sort of 2 quarters, every 3 quarters, staying in touch with our database. Now, if you're busy, you're on the road, for whatever reason you don't have time to put together a full-blown CMA, I've got good news for you. I've got another option. I call this a lazy man CMA. Here's what I want you to do. Every consumer on the planet in the US knows what their estimate is, right? And the other thing is, do you think they have an opinion about it? Okay? Like, of course they've got an opinion about it. So we want to leverage this as a means of starting a conversation. So what I want you to do is I want you to pull up their Zestimate. I know you got Zillow on your phone. Pull up Zestimate, right? Their Zestimate. Take a screenshot of it, okay? Take a screenshot of it. And then what you can do is you can text them and say, hey, Leo, I was on Zillow earlier today looking for a few properties in your neighborhood, which obviously is not true, but okay. And I thought I'd check out your Zestimate. They estimate your home is worth $2.7 million. That's the first text. The second text is the screenshot. The third text is, I have my opinion, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? We generate, and we've coached clients on this, millions of dollars of listing appointments every month for agents who are executing this strategy. Because it starts a conversation that can lead to an appointment, that can lead to a customer. And so this is the type of marketing that I really want to instill upon you, which is stop waiting for the market to come back. Let's go out there and try to grab market share. Now, let me give you an email that you should send. And just by a show of hands real quick, how many of you are sending more than one email per week to your network? Okay. Well, there's a lot of opportunity in email marketing. You know, Glenn was talking earlier about how social media and Google PPC are starting to kind of degrade in quality because it's becoming more competitive. Well, direct communication with your customers is always going to be in flavor, right? If you have a direct line to communicate with your customers, whether it's text messaging or email, that's always going to work. So let me give you an example of this. This is an email that you can send out, I would say twice a year. And this is an email that you can use to start more conversations, book more appointments. This is your what is your plan email. Now that we're almost halfway through the year, just want to touch base with you and your plans. As we approach the summer season, what's most important to you? Number one, selling my house for top dollar. Number two, selling my home quickly and painlessly. Number three, finding a new home that I love that I can actually afford, or all the above. We can't wait to hear your answer. Now, the secret sauce in a campaign like this is the PS. This is us empathizing with them. Hey, we know it's stressful. We know it's hard. We help people who are just like you. So when I think about your SOI is a fantastic source of business. It is a great channel you can use to attract your next listing appointment. But we have to continuously think of new and creative ways we can get in front of them, that we can engage with them, that we can start conversations with them. And again, if we're waiting for the market, you know, that posture, there are so many agents in this business, half the agents in this business are out of business and they don't even know it yet. Because they're waiting for 2021 to return. It ain't coming back. You know, it ain't coming back. So we have to be on our front foot here and play the offense. Okay, so let's build on this idea. We're talking about your SOI being a great source. As you're working your SOI, now we have to think about how can we introduce ourselves to new people? How can we connect with more folks in our farms, in our networks? Because again, if we just work our SOI, we're really not going to tap out on our total potential. There's a famous company, and you guys probably all know this. This is Casper. Casper was the sort of first ever direct-to-consumer brand that sold mattresses in a box. We all remember this. Like 2012, I think Casper emerged on the scene, and it caught fire. I mean, people loved it. It was a novel thing, but it was something that totally transformed how we, as consumers, bought really, high, expensive goods for our home. In fact, there's lots of folks who actually invested aggressively in this business, thinking this was going to be the next big thing. You see people like Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire with big investments in this company. What happened when Casper started to catch fire? What happened in the market? Competition. You guys know what that's like. When you got something good, you get a bunch of competitors who enter the space. And in fact, if you go to look for mattresses online, there's now over 40 companies that sell a mattress in a box. Right? What are they selling here on the screen? What are they selling?
Experience.
Yeah, sure, there's people sleeping in beds, they sell beds. Are they selling comfort or are they selling something else? Yell it out. Discounts. Thank you, whoever said that. Price, look at it. 35% off, 15% off, $350 off. Anything else stand out to you about this? Listen, I'm not saying it's the same person. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
It's actually not. I know it's hard because you can see it. But they're selling discounts. And this is what marketing looks like in real estate. We all have the same kind of just sold postcard. We kind of have all the same kind of generic website. We kind of all have the same kind of email drip campaign. And when everything is the same, we have to compete on price. When everything is the same, it confuses the consumer. Like this guy's example was confused when he said, 1 star, beds should look like beds. I ordered this when I was high because I thought it was a giant ice cream sandwich.
Oh my gosh.
When everything looks the same, we're confused. So,
It's hilarious.
I like that he still wanted it, despite the fact that he was disappointed. It does look like an ice cream sandwich, right? So when I think about direct response marketing, I'm an advertising guy. So I come from the world where the goal of marketing and advertising is to make a sale, right? You should all write this down. The godfather of advertising is a guy by the name of David Ogilvy. He wrote Confessions of an Admin. He wrote a book called On Advertising. If you want to get great at marketing and advertising, you should study the people in this industry that we're all built on top of. And I want to talk about some examples of this. So let me give you a few examples you can implement in your business. The first here, and I'll jump ahead here for a second, is a campaign called Name Your Price. Now this is a strategy that you can send not only to your past clients, your SOI, but this is a campaign that you can send to your database. Hey Leo, could you finish the sentence for me? If I could sell my house for blank, I would list my house this insert time, summer. I can't wait to hear your answer. Like when we break today, send this text message to 5 of your people in your SOI, 5 of your leads. And what people will say is they've got a number. They've got a number in their mind. And let's be real, is the market still hot? Are people still buying properties? Are we still getting multiple offers? So in their mind, if they read mainstream media, what they believe is the market is going to crash. They believe that the 7% interest rates have deterred buyers from actually putting their offers in. Of course, that's not true. Demand is still there because inventory is still constrained. So I know we know this, but do they know that? This campaign, again, tens of millions of dollars in listing appointments every month with people who are executing this campaign. Now, if something works through email, this is a pro tip for you. If something works through email, you should adapt it for other mediums. You with me on this? Like if it works on one channel, you should try to figure out creative ways to extend that to other channels. Let me give you an example of this. This is the exact same campaign, but delivered via a postcard. And you can see here, if I could sell my house for blank, I would list it this spring. Text your answer to a trackable text number. I can't wait to hear your answer. And the front of the card is just literally a screenshot of that same script. Does this look like anything that's in the mailbox of people who live in your farm today? What's missing? Like an agent headshot, 25 different calls to actions, right? Like microscopic copy. Like direct response advertising is about one message, one call to action, something that's fundamentally different that stands out in the inbox. Let me give you another example of this. This campaign to me is one of the ones that we stumbled upon by accident. I wish we were as brilliant as we think we are and came up with this one and said this is going to work. This is a rent versus sell campaign. Now, I think this only works today because we have a lot of people in the market today who have a 3% interest rate. I want to say Goldman Sachs put out some data on this, like 99% of consumers have an interest rate below today's market rate. somewhere in that ballpark. Someone fact check me on that. And so the thought that's going through the consumer's mind is if I got a 3% interest rate and I built up $400,000 in equity, and I have to move. My kids have to go to a new school district. I have to, I'm getting a divorce. I got this great new job. I want to blow my money in a new house. If I want to move, the thought that goes through my mind now is, should I turn this asset that I've got, that's got a 3% interest rate that we'll probably never see again in our lives, should I turn it into a rental? And so what we're doing with this campaign is we're joining the conversation that's happening in their head, and we're speaking to that. And this is why this campaign will get people to say, yeah, I would love to get a rent versus sell analysis. Now, most of the folks, are they going to actually become landlords? Why? Because it's terrible, right? if you own, it's great if you own a lot of doors. If you own one property, it's a pain in the ass. And so most folks are going to say, hey, you know what? I like this idea, but really I'd rather cash out and I'll put my money elsewhere in a different asset class. And again, if something works on one medium, what do? We translate over another medium. Here's an example of this. What I would encourage you to do is I would encourage you to build on this basic idea of including market stats, right? Highlighting the year-over-year growth, comparing rentals to your actual home values. And again, the exact same script delivered to people in your farm. I wasn't sure who the presenter was that came up earlier, the panelist, who said my folks aren't on social media. Great. This is the type of content you can deliver to your farm. Let's keep building on this. One of my favorite strategies, and this strategy, it blows me away how effective this is. And you should write this down. There's a company called YellowLettersComplete.com. So this Harvard MBA dude who runs a direct mail company out of Wisconsin, and this is just a strange story, he's got like 100 robots in this factory. And the robots, all they talk about AI taking over the world, right? It's going to start with these robots. He has these robots, they just write handwritten letters for you. We're all familiar with this concept, right? What's really cool about this is that these letters come in like what feel like a wedding invitation. And there's a sticky note on top of it. And so when the consumer opens up the letter, it feels like a handwritten letter by the agent, and there's a sticky note where you can add a call to action. I actually got one of these in the mail. I got like a little wedding invitation. I didn't know what it was. I opened it up and I realized it was a letter that I sent to myself, right? I was like both very embarrassed and also impressed. So this strategy here is an example of how we got a $4.5 million listing in Maui.
What does the sticky note say?
Sure, it says, call or text a trackable number if you're thinking of selling. You only got a few words there, so you can't put in like, follow me on Instagram, at your hand. No, like, get to the point, right? And you're looking at it right now where this is a $4.5 million listing we got in Maui. And this campaign, by the way, this is what I like to use, this is sort of the contrarian angle, which is there are 2,000 realtors on Maui, but only a few who are brave enough to tell you the truth. The real estate gold rush is over. But this might surprise you. Just last month, 146 people bought in Maui. Now, what am I doing? I'm just delivering market stats in an interesting and unique, this data. This is just market stats delivered in an interesting and unique way. And then what we do here is have our unique value propositions. Hey, we're the #1 team. We help with marketing and advertising. We sell a lot of properties. Here's the call to action. So again, direct response advertising is a fantastic way for you to actually attract listings within your farm. So instead of the next just sold, just listed, please hire me postcard, we can start to experiment with these ideas that actually capture the consumer's attention. Now let me give you one last pro tip here. I'll see if I can go back and skip over this. Now this is going to be a little uncomfortable. So there's by the way, this thing's upside down, so I think that's 20 minutes. There is a website. Okay, be careful here. There's a website called Foreplay. It's foreplay.co. I'll come back here for a second. It's foreplay, not .com. So all the guys in the room can just delete that M, right? It's .co. And what you have with this website is all of the best advertisers. all the best marketers, they share winning ads that they run to sell products on social media, ads they run to sell products online. And what is so powerful about this is that if we are constantly looking at what our competition is doing, and we're constantly copying our competition, then guess what? We're gonna look and act and sound just like them. And then what's the consumer gonna do? Just think we're like everybody else. And so what I like to do as a professional marketer is I look outside of the real estate industry for inspiration. I look outside and say, who is selling products online right now? Who doesn't have to just get a click, but has to get a sale? And how can I use that to inspire my next advertising campaign? All right, so let's keep building on these ideas. I got one more for you. So my client in San Diego, Jason Cassidy, awesome dude. He just booked a $800,000 listing appointment. We booked it for him, and he just won an appointment, crushed it. And we sent an email out to get this appointment booked for him. Now this email is so insanely simple that everybody in this room can do this. Again, one-to-one, one-to-many, DM it, text it. You can use whatever medium you have the most amount of connections on. Here's the email. Zestimate versus your home. I use Zillow a lot, by the way. Zestimate versus your home's actual value. Hypothetical. What if a buyer offered you 10% more than the Zestimate? Would you sell your home to seller? That gets the seller to go, Do you sell homes 10% above the Zestimate? Have you sold the house this year 10% above the Zestimate? Of course you have. So it's not an unreasonable theory and an unreasonable question to say, hey, could you sell the house for more than the Zestimate? One of the panelists up here sold the house for $300,000 above the list price. So I'm assuming that was 10% above the Zestimate. So this is a campaign that, and I love these hypotheticals. I'll give you one more I don't have on the screen here. If you're working with buyers and you're, let's say, just out, this is something you can bring to your teams. You can say something, we did this script probably at the beginning of the year, we said, hi Glenn, should I contact you if rates drop below 6%? And the response was bananas. I mean, people were just like, yeah, absolutely. Now, we're probably gonna have to change that one. Should I contact you if rates drop below 7%, right? But the same idea still applies, which is a sort of hypothetical, hey, should I contact you? If a home sells in your area, should I reach out to you? Right? Getting permission to have a conversation. You have a conversation, it turns into an appointment turns into a customer, your business begins to grow even in this market. Okay. One other one for you. I think, I'm a marketing guy, but this past year, as the intro shared, we booked over $1.2 billion in appointments. So we built an ISA team. And just to give you a little bit of context on this, as a marketer, we've generated millions and millions of leads through Google and through social media over the last 10 years. And I used to hear this all the time from agents. What would they say? We gave them a lead, and what would they say to us? The lead's not good, right? Can't convert them. We haven't converted to an appointment. The leads suck, right? And I was so sick of hearing this that I said, to hell with it. We'll call the leads. Well, it turns out, it's a little harder than I thought. So we hired an ISA, and then we had one ISA, we started building the department, now we have 10 ISAs. And our 10 ISAs are making hundreds of dials every single day, tens of thousands of dials every single week, booking appointments for our customers. And so we're constantly experimenting with different scripts. And this is what we call a value-based voicemail. So if you're sending direct mail, as an example, what I would coach you on is don't wait for the inbound. Reach out and follow up on the outbound. Give them a market update on what's happening when you actually are reaching out to them. Don't not leave a voicemail. Don't just hope they're gonna call. You have to play offense here. Okay. So we've talked about SOI, we've talked about direct response marketing. Let's talk about listings. So now we've got some listing appointments from our SOI, we've got some listing appointments from our direct response marketing, whether that's email or farming. Now that we have a listing, now most agents' definition of marketing a listing over the last 2 years was hitting submit when they put it into the MLS. I don't blame you. I'm not judging you. The homes were selling like this, right? It was this sort of this incredible market that we were on, this bull run. Well, the market has slowed down, and we can look at that as a liability, or we can look at that as an opportunity. And the way I think about this is that how do I take every listing appointment that I have to fight for, and how do I turn this into more opportunities, more listings, right? Listings equal leverage. Any top team will tell you that same thing. Before Ferrari had a website, before they had dealerships, wealthy businessmen would go to Italy and they would tour the Ferrari factory. And Enzo Ferrari would show them the entire manufacturing process, how they built these incredible machines. And at the end of this 2 or 3 hour tour, the wealthy businessman would go to Enzo Ferrari and say, Mr. Ferrari, I have to have one of these cars. And Enzo would always say, well, can't have one right now. I'll see what I can do in 6 to 12 months. And one day after giving one of these tours, a mechanic came up to Enzo Ferrari and said, Enzo, why don't you sell these Ferraris? We have a parking lot full of them. And his response was, a Ferrari has to be desired. A listing has to be desired. And so when I think about how to market listings, what's the first stage, the first moment that we market a listing typically? Coming soon, right? We got the listing, we signed the listing agreement, it's about to hit the market, we're gonna do a coming soon. How much time do we have to promote that? I guess if you do it on Friday, you can post it on Monday, right? 24 hours, depending on when you do it, right? Clear cooperation. See, I think we need to think more like Enzo Ferrari. We gotta build excitement and demand. So every time you book a listing appointment, here's what I want you to do instead. When you book the listing appointment, I want you to send this email. You can send to your entire database. I'm about to go meet a potential seller. Hi Glenn, I'm not sure this is for you, but I'm about to go meet a potential seller at 2 p.m. who's thinking about listing their home. I can't give away too much information, but what I can say is homes like this typically sell above the asking price and within a few days of being listed. If you're in the market, reply to this email right now and I'll add you to my VIP list. The moment I can share these details with you, I will. Now, we ain't promoting a listing. We're promoting the idea of a listing. We're promoting an appointment. We're not giving any information away. And guess what happens when you send this email to your database? A handful of people respond, saying, yeah, I'd love to learn more. Of course they would, because we didn't give any information, right? And then when you walk into that listing appointment and you're competing against 2 or 3 other agents, and those agents are talking about their 10-point marketing plan and how they're going to help you sell your house for top dollar, and you say, hey, listen, a great real estate agent has already begun the marketing process. Here are 10 people who are interested in learning more about your property. Are you winning that listing? Every single time. Now, I bought a house recently. I used to live in Boston, and my wife convinced me to move to the suburbs, which is a terrible idea. Objectively terrible. And one of the things that's really interesting, one of the things that's really interesting is I didn't realize, I always pay attention to how door-to-door salespeople sell. I'm always, like, anyone knocks on my door, I always answer. And I always hear their pitch. And if you know who does a really good job? Is the people who sell pest services. We got a guy in our area, Mosquito Joe. I think he's probably pretty big now. He's got our neighborhood on lockdown. I mean, every sign is a Mosquito Joe sign. And the script that they use when they come to your door is they say, hey, listen, I was in the area, right? Helping out one of your neighbors, and I thought I'd just swing by. Why aren't we using that script when we go on a listing appointment? Why aren't we becoming pest services? And so I wrote one for you on the plane ride down here. I thought it'd be how would I approach this? Hi, my name is Jimmy Mackin. I'm a real estate agent with EXP. I know you're not, by the way, great line. I mean, this is a killer line when you're cold prospecting. I know you're not expecting my call. Why is that line so good? Because what does the consumer say? You're right. Now there's a little bit, not a lot, a little bit of trust between you and I. I just said something truthful. Hey, I know you're not expecting my call, but the reason I'm reaching out is because I'm actually meeting with one of your neighbors on Tuesday at 1 p.m. to discuss selling their home. I'm calling around the neighborhood to see if anyone would offer free home value equity update while I'm in the area for folks who are looking to explore selling. I'm not sure if this is for you, but I'm happy to swing by after my appointment and provide you with some insight on how much you can get for your home in today's market. Would that be something you're interested in? So imagine for a moment, you booked an appointment, a listing appointment. Maybe you got one listing that entire month. And imagine if you circle prospect around that particular home and called every 100, 200 people with this exact script. Do you think you could turn that one listing appointment into 2 more, 3 more? I mean, folks, this is just work, right? Like, what's the Edison quote? Like, opportunity looks like work, and or opportunity looks like work in workman's clothes. Someone help me out there. It's a great quote on it. I love it. If I could remember, it'd be nice. But this is just work. But this is the blocking and tackling that helps top agents turn one listing into multiple listings. Now let's build on this idea. Again, we have a listing. How do we use this listing and turn it into more listings? Now, I subscribe to literally every single streaming service imaginable. I mean, what was that one that Meg Whitman rolled out a while back, like Quibi or something? It was like, I subscribed to that one. It failed in 3 months. Paramount Plus, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, you name it. So I watch a lot of movies at night just to stop thinking. And I was on HBO Max watching Succession a few weeks ago. Great show. You're not serious people. Right? We got serious people in this room, right? You show up here, you're a serious person. If you look at the navigation, what is the one thing that stands out to you? Which one's different? Last chance. Everyone's got just added. Everyone's got coming soon, trending now. Last chance. What does that make you feel when you see that? I gotta click on that. I don't want to watch Deep Impact, but it's gone in a week, right? All right. So when I see marketing in the wild done right, my mind cannot help but think, how can I apply this to our greatest asset? A buyer as a paycheck, a listing as an asset. How can I apply this to a listing? And here's what I would do. Instead of the coming soon, hey, home's about to hit the market, coming soon, right? Okay, it's gonna be here tomorrow. I don't have to do anything. What if we flip the language on this? And instead of saying coming soon, we say exclusivity ends in 24 hours. Last chance. Per the MLS guidelines, I only have 24 hours to share this home with you before everyone can access it on Zillow. For price and location and details, reply to this email. Am I looking for a click? I'm looking for a call, I'm looking for a text, I'm looking for a reply. Why? Conversation, an appointment, a customer. That's the business that we are in. We're using marketing to have more conversations, turn those conversations into appointments, turn those appointments into customers. Okay, just one last quick one for you. Most people don't market their listings to their SOI. Huge missed opportunity. And the language that I would use in this case is basically something along the lines of, hey Leo, I know you're not in the market to buy a house, but I got this beautiful property hitting the market. Who do you know who might be interested in buying a home? Or who do you know who's in the market? That's a text message. Talk about a great way to stay in touch with your SOI. You're positioning yourself as a local expert. You're keeping them in the loop. You're making them feel like a VIP. The house that I bought, you know how I heard about it? My sister, which I still don't forgive her, texted my wife and said, hey, this house just hit the market, or it's about to hit the market. You guys should put an offer in. Okay, thanks, Sarah. And so, from my perspective, using your listings to stay in touch with your SOI. Now, the line that we use there is who do you know? I had the great opportunity to co-write a book, a sales book. It's one of the most successful sales books in real estate in the last 10 years. It's called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. I co-wrote it with Bill. Has anyone read that book by chance? Right? Make sure you give us a review online. Many people don't know I co-wrote that book. And the reason why is because if you go to Amazon, you'll see Phil M. Jones, right? The original author that partnered with us. You see my partner, Chris Smith, and then you'll see a link that says more. When you click that, my name gets exposed. So I just want to make sure, I'm very petty if you haven't noticed. I want to make sure everyone knows I wrote that book. Okay, so listings. Well, this is real quick because I'm running out of time here. We got a couple more slides to get through. This is one of the most effective strategies that I've seen in real estate. This has worked for over a decade. This is a listing promotion on Facebook when you actually promote the property as a means of getting inbound messages. You can see this listing, which is from, I can't read the date, June 14th, 392 comments, 85 inbound messages. Now, notably, when we promote listings and when we coach our clients on promoting listings online, we do not include an address. Why? Because they just go online and find it. We don't include the price. We include photos. We don't want, when the home's active in the market, we want to include photos. We optimize for text because text becomes an intimate conversation. And if we're going to run an ad, we'll do a native messenger ad or a native ad on Instagram as an example. So it just goes right into the DM and you're talking to somebody. It doesn't become an email and then somebody's got to chase them down, get them on the phone. It's right into the DMs. Now you're having a conversation. A conversation leads to an appointment. So Joe and Taylor generate somewhere between $80 to $100 million in volume every year with this one strategy. Now the secret sauce is, they spend, how much do you spend normally promoting a listing on Facebook? 50 bucks? 100 bucks? They spend $1,000 every time they have a listing. Because every time they have a listing, they get a handful more customers. So their customer acquisition cost is only a few $100s, but they're leveraging a listing to create that. Now, what if you don't have a listing? You love this idea, you want to have conversations, you want to book appointments, but you don't have a listing. Well, you can use other people's listings, but you should ask permission. Here's exactly what I would do if I was in your position. I would ask consumers, I would ask the agents, hey, congrats on 123 Main Street. Hey Leo, congrats on your newest listing. If you're open to it, I'd love to share it on my network on social media. I have a lot of buyers who follow me, and I know that this listing would be a hit. I will, of course, give you credit. Would you be okay with me promoting it? Now, half the agents are going to say, what's social media? Right? And the other half will say, a few will say no. And then, yeah, you'll get a handful. Now you've got an asset that you can promote. Now you can start texting, you can start calling, you can start reaching out, using this, we are connecting buyers and sellers. That's what we're doing in this market. Now, let me give you a script. Now, you're going to get a lot of buyer leads when you do listing promotion. But how many buyer leads also have a home to sell? If we're conservative, 25% maybe, 30%, they actually do have a listing. And so most people, when they call and they're going through their LP mama, right, they'll ask a question like, and maybe you've asked this question, do you have a home to sell? And keep in mind, are they calling you about the home they have to sell? They're calling you because they want more information about a listing. And so when we ask that question, they say, oh, no, even though the answer is yes. And so we made one simple swap to improve the number of seller leads we generate from our buyer leads. At the end of the appointment, this is really important, after we book the buyer consultation, we'll ask a question like this. And again, we book the appointment. One more thing, as part of the client experience, we're going to prepare a home value report for you so you can understand what your buying power is in today's market. When is the last time you had a professional home value report prepared? Now, if they rent, they're going to say, hey, I rent. Hey, no problem. If they own a house, they'll say, what? I haven't had one done. To which we will reply, what's your address? And now we are starting a conversation about serving that customer, not just on the buy side, but also the sell side. And I think a lot of folks right now are intimidated by sellers. They think that sellers right now, they're hard to connect with sellers. It's more expensive to reach sellers. They don't know, they think sellers in their minds don't want to sell because interest rates are so low. My sister, I got a lot of sisters. My sister, Amy, sold her house before she bought a house. Now, prior to selling the house, how long do you think the average seller thinks it's going to take them to buy a house? Forever. Infinity. Like if you ask the average seller, they go, what's the number one reason you're not listing, even though you want to? It is what? I got nowhere to move. She sold her house, and within 60 days, she was under contract with her new home. And we are in a ridiculously low inventory market. The reality is, once that clock starts, you start making compromises, all of a sudden you start finding houses. And most people who are on the sidelines, sellers, don't know that you can actually move through a transaction that quickly. And we as real estate agents, we have to migrate from the just sold Like, you don't think with the holding the signs that said just sold? You guys have seen those, right? I've seen hostages who are happier than some of your clients holding those signs. Like, we have to move from like sold $300,000 above ask price. Like that is 2021 marketing. We have to move to, I helped this client sell their property and was under contract in 47 days on their new home. Because now a seller's going to read that story on social media and say, oh, that person's just like me. Oh, it's possible. Oh, this agent specializes in helping buy side and sell side. All right, so I think we're 3 minutes left. So we gotta fly. Compounding every sale. Every time you sell a property, there's an opportunity to turn that into a new listing. And so again, yellow letter, and just take a screenshot of this. This is an example of a yellow letter campaign, or screenshot. Take a photograph of this, thank you. This is a yellow letter strategy. This is an example of like, this campaign is just different. If you sell a property, tell them all the details behind why you sold the home. Get that in their mailbox. It's a little bit more expensive. It makes a much bigger impact. Another example for you. I was with this agent in California, and she says to me, Jimmy, every listing presentation I go on, I bring a printout of the Zestimate beforehand of a client I help sell, and I bring the Zestimate after I sell. What happens when you list a property? What happens to the Zestimate when you list a property? It jumps. Like, are you kidding me? Like all their genius ML engineers, all their economists, they just wait for you to tell them the price and they just update their algorithm. There's some poor soul at Zillow who probably just like waits to go on the MLS and just copies and pastes from one spreadsheet to the next. Right? They got some smart people there. I'm just joking. But here's the thing, is that what you're looking at is I would use this as a marketable moment. I would take a picture, screenshot of the Zestimate before I list my home, and I would take a picture after I list the home. I would then include those pictures, and I would put it on letterhead, and I would circle prospect. Hey, Zillow estimated my client's home was worth $700,000. I sold it for $820,000. That's a $70,000 difference. Anytime a home sells in your neighborhood, it has a big impact on your home's value. Would you like me to prepare a professional, there's that word again, professional home value report for your home? Will this get you more conversations? Will this create more opportunities? Like, this is marketing. This isn't just a just sold. This is us being creative and thoughtful and starting a conversation. Take a picture of this one here. We're gonna fly because we have 1 minute left. I have one more thing to add for you guys. This is like UGC, like user-generated content. We're showcasing what we're doing to help sell. This one actually generated 11 phone calls from this one postcard. Total spend was I think around $1,200. Fantastic quote. Some people called like 9 months later. I'm like, this is what weirdo hangs onto a postcard for 9 months. But someone who wants to list their house, I guess. Another example, this is storytelling using, and what you're seeing here, we track everything through call tracking software. We use a company called CallRail. You're seeing this person texts us, hey Gretchen, we are considering a move. I just received your flyer. It's a postcard, but okay. Could you provide a BPO for our home? Now I had to Google what BPO meant. Okay? Again, I'm not in real estate, even though my headshot says otherwise. So this is an example of another type of just sold campaign that you can use. I'm going to give away my slides at the end here. Circle prospecting. If you're not circle prospecting, again, huge opportunity. The line that I love is this is the line to like internalize. Is anytime a home sells in your neighborhood, 2 or 3 people start thinking about making a move. Who do you know who might be in the market? Right? Hey, I know you're not expecting my call. The reason I'm reaching out is because 1, 2, 3 Main Street just sold. Anytime that happens, 2 or 3 people start thinking about making a move. Who do you know who might be thinking about selling their property? Like, that is all we've got to do. Make more phone calls, have more conversations, book more appointments. All right, so last one for you here. We'll do overtime on this. My concern, when I think about the future of real estate, my concern is that we're repeating history. You know, I love this industry. I have the opportunity to work with 550 teams across the country, all across North America. I mean, amazing people like Veronica Figueroa, been a client of Curaytor for forever. I mean, I've seen her go from a small, tiny operation to just being this absolute phenomenon. And I see how hard she works. And I see how hard the people in this industry work. And so I want you guys to win. But what I'm seeing in our industry concerns me. And it reminds me of when I think back in my career. I'm only 37, but my father worked for Oracle for years, and I sort of had a backseat to the dot-com boom and bust. And I remember vividly how certain companies were embracing the future and certain companies weren't. And the best example I can give to you today is the story of Amazon and Borders. Now, we can all look back at this and say, well, Amazon's a phenomenal company, $1 trillion market cap plus, Jeff Bezos saw the future, Borders was run by incompetent people, but they were not incompetent people. They were very smart, intelligent people. Their Achilles heel and the sort of original sin of the brick and mortar was they did not see the future coming. They thought the present was always going to be like the future. And in fact, and many people don't know this, but Borders was a much bigger company in 2001 than Amazon was. Borders handed the keys to Amazon. They actually outsourced their entire e-commerce strategy to Amazon. Right? Think about that. Say, hey, people are always going to come into bookstores. They're always going to buy books, right? Is this my alert? The alarm here? Okay. I'm going to finish. All right, I'm not planning to come here. I'm going to finish. Okay? And so I think that agents right now, they're acting a lot like Borders. And what I mean by that is we are outsourcing customer acquisitions to the portals. And they are taking your commission so slowly that you're not even noticing. When you look back at the portal success fees, what a marketing move, by the way, calling it success fees. Right? I love that. As a marketer, I can't help but be impressed. If you look at it, they started off as a traditional referral fee. None of us got a problem paying 25%. But all of a sudden, 25% became 35%. All of a sudden, 35% became 40% on listings. When they start to account for the vast majority of your business, is there any reason why they can't go to 50%? Of course not. Right?
Rocket Homes moved to 50% on April 1st.
Yeah. And if they are controlling a large percent of your business, or you're having an outsourced customer acquisition to them, they're going to come in 50%. I call this margin crushing or profit margin crushing referral fees. I mean, at some point, you're going to all become Redfin agents working on a salary. That didn't work out too well for those guys. Right? It's like this is where we're going unless we prioritize customer acquisition. Unless we focus on actually getting ahead of this ourselves. And so let me leave you with a couple pro tips, because this is the world I come from. Most of us are familiar, if we're on social media, most of us are familiar with Facebook's, or they call it Meta's ad library. Has anyone been to this before? We can actually check out, okay, I'll share an example. You can look at your competitors' ads. People don't know this, but you can actually do the exact same thing on Google. So you know all those companies who are selling you expensive seller leads and charging you really friendly success fees, right? Well, guess what? Guess where they get their business? Google. And so if you go to Google and you type in seller-centric keywords like what's my home worth, Zestimate, Open Door, cash offer, if you go there, you see those 3 little dots right there next to Open Door. If you click on those 3 little dots, there's a button there that says see all ads. And so you can actually look at every single ad these companies who are selling you, right, seller leads, is running to generate business. Think about that for a second. You can just arbitrage this. You can compete against them with the same ad dollars. And it's going to be a heck of a lot less than 50% of your actual commission on a deal. And so what I would be doing if I was in your position is I would say any company that sells seller leads in real estate, I would be Googling their brand, I would be looking at their ads, I say, I'm going to copy that for my business. Now you can also apply this to Facebook's ad library or Meta ad library. You can look at anyone who's running social media ads on Meta, right? You can look at all the different campaigns. I pull up Orchard, you should write this down. It's a company called Orchard, they do a fantastic job with their advertising. Again, cash offer, buy before you sell it as it is, fix and flip. You can see all the advertising campaigns. So if I can leave you with one key idea, is that in this market, the time to play defense was Q4. The time to cut cost was like Q1. Now we're entering into what is going to be the foreseeable market that we're all operating in. We have got to play offense. That is the strategy. We have got to focus and prioritize customer acquisition. That is how we can pick up market share, and as Glenn was sharing earlier, how we can ride the wave as this market comes back. If you want to get my slides, you can just follow me on Instagram at Jimmy Mackin. Just DM me listings, and I'll send you all the slides, all the examples, all the strategies from today. Please do not say DM me and then just send me your email address. Say email me. I will just DM them back to you, okay? DM me at Jimmy on Instagram. Thank you so much for your time today.